A lesbian mother loses her child after a breakup. Same-sex marriage has been legal in the United States since 2015. But that legality doesn't always come with a full legal path. Not even for something as basic as the right to be a mother. This story begins in Portland, Oregon. Two women fell in love. They got married, and together they dreamed of having a baby. The child was born in happiness. One woman carried the pregnancy. The other took care of the baby from day one, like a real mother. But her name wasn't on any legal paper. Then they broke up, and only one woman had the legal right to keep the child. Can motherhood be taken away just because of a missing signature on an adoption form? Do you think love is enough to be recognized as a mother? Or does love, no matter how real, still need legal backing? If you don't want to be erased from your child's life by a single legal form, we used to be a family. Jessie Lane lived in Portland, Oregon, a city proud of its openness, equality, and rainbow flags flying every June. Jessie met Amanda during a community art workshop in 2015, the same year the U.S. Supreme Court legalized same-sex marriage nationwide through the Obergefell v. Hodges decision. They fell in love quickly, quietly, without show. One taught painting, the other worked as an environmental engineer. They moved in together after 8 months of dating. In 2017, they legally married. A year later, they decided to have a child. Choosing who would carry the baby was simple. Amanda volunteered, not because Jessie didn't want to, but because Amanda had always dreamed of feeling life grow inside her. They picked a sperm bank together, went to every appointment together, and planned their finances together. When Amanda became pregnant through IUI, intrauterine insemination, Jessie was the one holding her hand at every ultrasound. She painted fairy tale murals. Also in the nursery, picked out the name, learned how to change diapers. She was the first to hold the baby after Amanda's C-section. They named the baby Elliot, a gentle, gender-neutral name full of love. During Elliot's first 3 years, Jessie was the one who took him to daycare, read bedtime stories, made the pumpkin soup he loved. Though she had no biological connection, she never saw herself as second. Elliot called both women mama, and only those 2 words came out every time he fell or felt scared. To Jessie, motherhood was built through every morning with laughter and every night with lullabies. But when Elliot turned 4, the relationship began to crack. Small disagreements turned into distance. Jessie wanted to move to the quiet suburbs while Amanda refused to leave Portland. Work stress, finances, and parenting responsibilities pulled them further apart. By the end of that year, they decided to separate. No bitterness, no court battles, just 2 women who had once last loved each other, no longer speaking the same language.
We'll still co-parent. We're adults. Amanda won't deny that.
So she didn't hire a lawyer. She didn't file for custody. She didn't ask for a legal agreement. In her heart, they were still a family, just not under the same roof.
But what Jessie didn't know was that Elliot's birth certificate listed only one mother, Amanda, and in the eyes of the law, Jessie had never existed.
Separation. And the legal void exposed 2 months after moving out of their shared apartment. Jessie was living alone in a small rented house in the suburbs of Beaverton, less than an hour's drive from Portland. She tried to rebuild her life while staying in regular contact with Amanda to continue caring for Elliot. On weekends, she picked him up, took him to the park, told bedtime stories, and sang, "You Are My Sunshine," every night. Everything seemed fine, until one message from Amanda arrived. "Starting next month, I think Elliot should have a more consistent routine. I'm going to pause the visits." Just a message. No anger, no argument. But it was a quiet, clean break, as if Jessie had never been Elliot's mother at all. Jessie called. No one picked up. She went to Amanda's house but was turned away. The next day, a letter came from Amanda's attorney, stating that all parental decisions belonged solely to Amanda as the only legal parent. Panicked, Jessie went to see a lawyer, bringing spent-along photos, journals, years of messages with Amanda. The lawyer shook their head. None of this has legal weight to establish parentage. You're not on the birth certificate. You never filed for adoption during the marriage. Jessie couldn't believe it. For 4 years she had been a mother. No one could deny that. Elliot called her Mama Jessie. He had fallen asleep in her arms, made drawings for her on Mother's Day, cried for her when she was away for just 3 days. She wasn't an outsider. But Oregon law saw it differently. According to Oregon Revised Statutes, ORS, Section 109.243, a same-sex spouse of a birth parent can be considered a legal parent if they prove intent to parent and direct involvement in raising the child. But to be recognized, that intent must be backed by legal documentation, usually through Jessie had none of those. Amanda had never taken her to adopt the child, never agreed to put her name on the birth certificate. Their entire parenthood had rested on trust each other. But trust without legal protection can vanish like smoke. Jessie filed a petition to be recognized as a parent. The court reviewed the documents and denied it. There is no clear legal basis to establish a parent-child relationship. In a single moment, everything Jessie had been called, had deeply felt, was erased from Elliot's life with a single cold stamp of ink. Not needed, because my name was never there. Jessie used to think losing a child only happened in tragedies, wars, hospitals, disasters. She never imagined that in a progressive city like Portland in the 21st century, a mother could be erased from her child's life just because of a missing signature. She sat outside the courtroom of Washington County, clutching the rejected folder. Inside were dozens of photos. Elliot riding on her shoulders, Elliot asleep in her arms, Elliot drawing Mama Jessie in bright blue crayon. Those papers, so full of love, held no legal weight. The court didn't deny her love for Elliot, but the law, as the judge said clearly, we cannot rule based on emotions or memories. We are bound by what the law permits. And the law was clear. She had no name. In the legal system, Jessie was a third party. She had no right to request visitation, no right to ask for medical or school information, no right to make decisions about Elliot's life. She couldn't show up at his school, couldn't attend parent meetings, couldn't sign a single form. Worse, she was warned. If she kept trying to contact Elliot without Amanda's permission, she could be sued for harassment. Jessie spiraled into depression. She took a leave from teaching. Meals went cold. Nights passed without sleep. Every time she saw the bookshelf where Elliot's picture of our family of 3 still stood, her chest tightened until she couldn't breathe. One day she sent Amanda an email. No demands, no arguments, just a single line. If Elliot ever misses me, please tell him I miss him too. I'm still here, even if the law says I'm nothing. I'm still his mother, in my heart. Amanda never replied. Weeks later, Jessie met with a lawyer who specialized in LGBTQ+ parental rights. The older woman looked at her, then said quietly, "You're not the first, and you won't be the last. The law has come a long way to recognize same-sex marriage, but it still forgets the children born from love without paperwork." They reviewed options to appeal, but Jessie no longer had the heart for another battle. She didn't want Elliot caught in legal conflict. She feared if she kept fighting, Amanda would cut her off entirely, and Elliot would grow up only remembering her through someone else's bitter lens. Jessie didn't want to become a scar in his memory. Instead, she chose to step back, not to surrender, but to protect the one thing she still had, the hope that love, when it's real and lasting, always finds its way back. Is the law keeping up with love? For many people, same-sex marriage has been legal for years, and a story like Jessie's might sound like old news. But reality paints a different picture. Oregon is one of the most progressive states when it comes to LGBTQ+ rights. The marriage between Jessie and Amanda was fully legal. However, as Jessie's lawyer warned her, legal marriage doesn't automatically mean legal parenthood, especially for the partner who didn't carry the child and shares no biological link. Under current law, specifically Oregon Revised Statutes, ORS, Section 109.243, in same-sex relationships, if a child is born during the marriage, the non-birthing spouse may be considered a legal parent if there was mutual intent to parent and actual involvement in raising the child. But in real courtrooms, judges still require one of the following. Jessie had none of those. All her acts of love and care were real, but without legal documents, they held no weight in court. Her lawyer cited a KE, illegal case in Oregon, in remarriage of Madrone, 367 or 654, 2020. In that ruling, the court recognized the non-biological mother as a legal parent in a same-sex marriage based on emotional bonding, practical caregiving, and clear shared intent. But Jessie's case was different. There was no proof of shared intent from Amanda. No written record, no emails, no co-parenting contract, and no adoption paperwork. Jessie's story is not unique. According to 2023 data from the Oregon Judicial Department, more than 30 custody disputes between same-sex couples involved one parent not being recognized legally, even after years of parenting together. In 2024, Oregon proposed changes to ORS Section 109.243 to expand the legal definition of parent to include non-birthing partners who show consistent caregiving and strong social recognition. But the bill is still in the public comment phase. It hasn't passed yet. The law is changing, but Jessie couldn't wait. The law might change in a year, she said, but in that year my child will grow up without me. And childhood doesn't wait for revisions. Jessie doesn't blame the law. She only hopes that children like Elliot won't grow up with a missing parent, just because their love wasn't written in the right legal box. Loving a child and learning to be a mother again. Jessie no longer stood outside the preschool gates. She didn't call again and again like before. She chose to step back, not to disappear, but to keep Elliot from being caught in a struggle he couldn't understand. Instead of lawsuits, Jessie began to write letters, one each month for Elliot, but never sent. In them, she wrote small stories about rainy days in Beaverton, about the time she saw a t-shirt just like the one Elliot used to wear, or how she made butternut squash soup and missed him unbearably. She also saw a therapist, not to heal, but to learn how to be a mother from afar. She was guided on how to rewrite her journal, preserve memories, and, if she was lucky, prepare for the day her child might come looking. Time passed. 1 year, then 2. Jessie opened an art class for kids in the LGBTQ+ community. She taught children how to use watercolor to say the things they couldn't yet say with words. She always left one small chair, empty, with a handwritten name tag, E. Whenever someone asked, she would just smile. That's for a special student. May never come, but is always present. Unexpectedly one day, she received a letter. Not from Amanda, but from Amanda's mother, the same woman who once opposed their marriage, but had quietly watched from the sidelines. In the letter, she wrote, Elliot is growing up and starting to ask about Jessie. He remembers the bedtime stories, the yellow kitchen. I'm not interfering, but I think my daughter is beginning to understand one thing, that love doesn't disappear just because people separate. A week later, Jessie received a drawing, a tree, a house, and a woman in a blue shirt holding hands with a brown-haired boy. In the bottom corner, a single scribbled line, "Mama, Jessie, if you're still there." She didn't cry. She just sat in silence, then slowly opened a drawer and took out all the letters she had written over the last 2 years. Tomorrow, she would send a few, not rushed. One each month, just like before, except this time, they'd be real. Jessie didn't know if she'd return to Elliot's life as a mother, a friend, or just a faded memory. But she knew one thing for certain. To be a mother again, I don't need anyone's permission, just a space in my child's heart to come home to. And that is the longest journey, unmarked on any map, not ruled by any court, guided only by love. There are some relationships that never show up in court records. No contracts, no birth certificates, no official recognition. But they still exist, real enough to break your heart when they're gone. Jessie didn't lose a lawsuit. She was just left behind in a space the law hasn't filled in yet. She loved a child with every hug, every bedtime dinner, every runny nose wiped, but still ended up labeled a stranger because of one missing signature. And somewhere out there are many more like her. Parents in non-traditional families, living, raising, loving, but not yet named by the law. Jessie's story doesn't end with a win or a loss. It ends with a child's drawing, a memory that came back, and a belief that didn't need a court to approve it. That if you love someone long enough, gently enough, and stay present long enough, one day, they'll find their way back to you. Not to start over, but to continue something that never truly stopped.
How do you find today's story? Leave us a comment sharing your feelings and thoughts, and don't forget to click the subscribe button in the bottom right corner of the screen to follow more stories in daily life, humane and inspiring about life in America, where the law and humanity sometimes meet at the right time. Disclaimer: this video is an AI-generated simulation for educational, informational, and legal awareness purposes only. It does not promote illegal behavior or opposition to government. It is not a substitute for professional legal advice. All situations are illustrative in nature. The characters in the video are fictional and do not represent real people. Each case and local law may vary. Viewers should consult a qualified immigration attorney or contact their local authorities for accurate and appropriate legal guidance.